The hook, the hanging god. The winds of the cosmos howl through the void of Ginnunga Gap, but here, at the center of all existence, there is only the rhythmic creaking of wood. A figure sways in the freezing gale, suspended between the heavens and the roots of the underworld. This is no ordinary prisoner. It is Odin, the All-Father, the king of the Aesir, yet he looks nothing like a monarch. His body is gaunt, his skin turned pale by the biting frost, and a spear remains embedded in his side, the blood crystallizing before it can hit the ground. Around him, the air begins to fracture. Glowing symbols, ancient and sharp, start to manifest in the empty air. They do not just float, they swarm like golden insects, circling his dying form in a violent vortex of light and shadow. The knowledge of the universe is screaming to be born, and Odin is the vessel for its painful delivery. The beginning, a king's desperation. To understand the nightmare, one must understand the hunger that drove the king of Asgard. Odin was never a god of simple comforts. While others feasted in the great halls, his mind wandered to the inevitable end of all things, Ragnarok. He knew that strength of arms and the sharpest blades would not be enough to save the realms. He needed the fundamental laws of reality, the hidden language that binds the stars and the souls of men. He looked toward the Well of Ord, where the Norns wove the tapestry of fate. He saw that they used signs and symbols that even the gods could not fully comprehend. These were the runes. They were not mere letters, they were the DNA of existence. To grasp them, a person could not simply study, they had to die to their old self. Odin realized that to gain the wisdom of the universe, he had to offer himself as a sacrifice. Since there was no being higher than himself to whom he could pray, he chose the most paradoxical path. He would sacrifice Odin to Odin. The rising action, 9 nights of agony. The ritual began at the towering heights of Yggdrasil, the ash tree that connects the 9 realms. Odin climbed to a branch that overlooked the abyss of Niflheim. Without hesitation, he took his spear, Gungnir, and thrust it into his own flank. He then fastened the noose around his neck and cast himself from the branch. For 9 days and 9 nights, the All-Father hung in the gray space between life and death. He forbade the other gods from intervening. No one brought him a horn of ale to quench his thirst. No one offered him a scrap of meat to sustain his failing strength. He was utterly alone, a silhouette of suffering silhouetted against the cosmic backdrop. As the days bled into one another, his physical senses began to wither. The pain from the spear wound became a dull, distant roar, replaced by a sharpening of the spirit. He began to see the roots of the world not as wood and soil, but as flows of energy. On the 9th night, the veil finally tore. The ground beneath the tree seemed to vanish, and the secrets of the runes rose from the depths. They were loud, echoing like thunder in his mind. The climax, the vortex of knowledge. The nightmare reached its peak when the runes finally manifested physically. They did not appear calmly, they erupted from the shadows, spinning around Odin in a blinding whirlwind. Each symbol carried the weight of 1,000 secrets, the power to heal, the power to bind enemies, the power to speak with the dead, and the power to calm the raging seas. Odin reached out with his spirit, grasping the glowing shapes as they cut through the air. The vortex intensified, the runes glowing with a fierce, ethereal blue and gold light. His one remaining eye flew open, witnessing the birth of a new era. The agony of the spear and the noose were forgotten as the logic of the cosmos flooded into his consciousness. He screamed into the void, a cry of both immense pain and ultimate victory. In that moment of total surrender, he seized the runes. The suspension snapped, and Odin fell from the tree. No longer just a king, but the master of all mysteries. The conclusion, the price of enlightenment. Odin returned to Asgard changed. He walked with a heavy gait, carrying the weight of the 9 nights in his very marrow. He had gained the runes, the magical alphabet that could bend reality to his will, but the cost was etched into his soul forever. He had looked into the abyss and survived, but the abyss had left its mark. The nightmare of the tree served as a permanent reminder to all who seek wisdom. Knowledge is never free. It requires the shedding of the ego and the endurance of the soul. Today, the image of the god hanging on the world tree remains one of the most haunting and powerful icons of human history. It represents the eternal struggle of the mind to transcend its limits, even if it means walking through the darkest nightmares to find the light of truth. Odin's sacrifice ensured that while the world might one day end in the fires of Ragnarok, the wisdom of the runes would endure, etched into the very fabric of the universe he died to understand.